member.
If you leave me your card, I'll send you a check.
I'm all out of cards.
Welcome to episode 5 of the Columbo podcast, where we are all out of cards. Iain, good evening.
Good evening.
We're doing this a little bit later than normal.
Yes, it's past my bedtime.
Tired?
Oh, completely.
More coffee.
That's the usual method.
Tonight we're going to be discussing Lady in Waiting.
Yes.
Watched that. When did you watch that this morning?
Literally hours ago, yes.
Hours ago. What did you think generally?
I liked it, but thought it was very different from the other episodes.
Yeah. In what way?
I feel like I'm saying this every week. This one was different. It's a completely different approach because we're not seeing Columbo guess who the killer is. We're not looking for evidence to point to there being a person responsible. It's a very different setup. And also having the inquiry, the court appearance at the start of the show set the dynamic up quite interesting.
It did. We don't normally see much of the inside of a courthouse or a courtroom.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll come to that when we get into the episode. Yeah. But it was an interesting approach, and from Columbo's point of view as well, I think it will be interesting to have a look at what he would be thinking. Mm-hmm.
Might be worthwhile briefly mentioning or reminding people who may or not have listened to episode 1 of the Columbo podcast that myself, Gerry, I'm a sort of long time fan of the Columbo.
Encyclopedic knowledge, I believe is the thing.
Certainly not. Just a long time fan. You are a bit of a newcomer.
Well, I'm watching the episodes for the first time as we go through the show.
So we're getting an insight into how someone watching it for the first time in 2014 might view the program.
Yeah, that's the idea anyway. Yeah.
And how it stands up or not.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Every week, Iain, you give us an episode summary.
Yes. We've looked at some of the analytics, actually. This is by far the most listened to part of the podcast.
How many tweets have we actually had about your summary?
Oh, I couldn't put a number on it.
I will. The number is 0. But I enjoy it. I think everyone else enjoys it as well. So
now that you've said that, we're going to get
inundated.
We're going to get flooded with tweets about Iain's summary.
Yeah. Iain, give us this week's summary.
This episode doesn't borrow too much from what we've seen so far. For the first time, Columbo is not charged with identifying the killer, as I said earlier, as we see the murder set up to appear like an accident. Beth Chadwick is the sister of advertising mogul Bryce Chadwick. Frustrated by his interference and pushed to the edge by his determination to end her current romantic relationship, she plans to kill him, setting the scene to make it appear not to be her fault. Things don't go exactly to plan, but she improvises sufficiently well to see the killing ruled accidental at an inquest. Columbo, though, is not prepared to let things lie, and maintains his investigation, seeking to prove that the so-called accident was a murder after all.
The best part of the show is always Iain, thank you.
Yeah, folk can turn off now if they want, but please try to stick around because some of the stuff coming up is amazing.
Top quality. We start this episode with a helicopter view. I think it's nice.
Yeah, it's a dark sort of
city landscape.
Yeah.
Zooms in on a large house.
Yep, you've got some atmospheric music playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting opening. Again, this is now 3 out of 5 that open with music. We thought we'd spotted a trend back at the start, but no. But still not a theme tune.
No theme tune.
Just the episode just starts.
We see the credits roll.
We do, and a pleasant surprise there, guest starring Leslie Nielsen.
What did you think of his performance?
I thought it was fine. It's interesting to see him in a straight role.
Well, we mentioned that just a moment ago before we started recording, that most chaps or chapesses around, our age are only really aware of Leslie Nielsen from the Naked Gun, the Police Story, and all the spoofs.
Yeah, Airplane and so on, the comedy.
And he plays those in a very straight manner, a very deadpan manner.
He does, but it's comedy.
It's comedy.
But this wasn't.
No, but the point is that because it's the same sort of style, he acts straight. So in this role, whenever you see him now in a straight role, you're always expecting him to turn into Frank Drebin.
You think there's a sort of a wink and a nod there somewhere,
Yeah.
but there didn't seem to be this week.
No, he's a very polished performer.
I thought he played it well.
Actor,
Yeah. He did get one opportunity to throw in a little funny line.
Which was?
Well, he's playing the love interest of our suspect, and she says to him, "You do love me, don't you?" And he says, "No, I hate you with a passion." And it's perfectly delivered. It's the sort of thing that I imagine I would say in the same circumstances.
Fair enough. The next scene is after the sort of helicopter intro, is Bryce, or a man asleep in his bed.
Yeah.
We see a female creeping into his bedroom and stealing a key from a keyring.
Yes.
And there is quite a tension-creating score behind that.
Yeah, well, you know this is something sneaky or dramatic that's happening here.
Yep. We then quickly go to the next morning.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't catch her. He kind of stirs as she leaves
yeah.
the room, but he doesn't wake up and it seems to be fine.
So she's stolen a key.
Yeah.
Next morning, we're in the garden of this house, and we can now see the house and the gardens in all their glory. It's obviously a very wealthy household.
Yeah, and what appears, I thought, to be the same man and woman sitting down to breakfast.
Yep, and that's correct. The man arrives and is ignored by the woman who is already sitting there. She's hiding behind a newspaper.
Yeah.
And it's apparent that they have had an argument before, but the man is clearly in control of the relationship, the dynamic.
Yeah, and he's accusing her of sulking, tells her the matter is settled. It's apparent that he believes his word is final on whatever it was they were arguing about.
He's the boss.
Yeah.
What transpires is that the female has been having a relationship with a member of the company's staff.
Yeah, an employee.
And the male here, Bryce, is not happy with this.
No, I mean, he acknowledges that the employee is not a no-mark. He knows what he's doing. He's a bright guy.
Well, he
views him as perhaps an opportunist, and he doesn't think he's
the right man. He certainly
man.
implies that. In fact, I think he does more than imply it. He suggests that he's after her money. He's a gold digger.
Yes.
We find out that... I'm not sure, do we find out in this scene that this is brother and sister?
Yes.
Yeah.
We do. And we find that he's written to the boyfriend.
Yes. He has basically said, if you don't stop seeing my sister, break the relationship off, you are out of a job.
Yeah, and he delivers at this point a pretty withering takedown of his sister, pointing out that, he wouldn't be interested in you if it wasn't for the money.
No.
Essentially, killing her self-esteem if she had any left.
It reminded me very much of Helen in Dead Weight. I think a lot of scenes in this episode remind me of that, where you have a female who's very sort of put down, very put upon.
Yeah, a different response from the female.
Yeah, definitely a different response. But again, it's someone who has a domineering mother and other people in her life who try to control her and therefore reduces her self-respect.
And she says that herself in this scene. She says that first her father and now her brother are basically stopping her doing anything that she wants to do with her life.
Yeah. So we, effectively in this scene, what happens is we understand that this letter has been written.
Yep.
And Bryce basically doesn't want to talk anymore about it.
That's it, and he leaves.
Decision's been made. He leaves, and we see... Sorry, on you go.
Yeah, before the scene ends, she speaks to the...
Staff,
to the butler, Charles.
Confirms that they are off, they're not working the next day.
Yes.
Which she seems...
And they were leaving that evening.
Yeah. So she grasps this key that she's previously stolen.
Yes, to show the dramatic importance of the key.
Yeah. We're made aware here, this isn't something that's a knee-jerk reaction. She's obviously, this has been building up.
There's a degree of thought in this.
Very much so.
So it's not just the letter that's kicked her off, it's the whole circumstance.
We then go to Beth's bedroom, and she receives a call from the aforementioned Leslie Nielsen playing Peter Hamilton.
Peter Hamilton. He's not had the letter yet, but he's in touch with her.
Exactly. He is calling, he's on away in business.
Yep.
So he's in some sort of hotel room.
Appears to be that way.
Yep, and they chat to each other. It seems that he genuinely does love, there is a genuine relationship here.
Yeah, I mean, the line that I quoted earlier on, this is where he delivers it, and I think that's the kind of thing you would have to have some affection to speak to them in that way, that sort of sarcastic way, knowing that it wouldn't be taken the wrong way.
It's a confident and familiar tone that they have. So Beth in this scene, or Peter Hamilton, advises Beth that he's coming home that evening. He's flying home, and he'll come round to speak to her.
Yeah.
But she tells him, or suggests that he doesn't. Asks him that he doesn't.
Yeah, she doesn't want him around.
Doesn't want him around because she's obviously got other plans.
Yeah.
So tells him to come home come through the next day.
Yes, and once she's off the phone, you see her putting the key in the bedside drawer. You also see there's a gun in there.
Yeah, she inspects a handgun. We then see her moving down. She starts to put her plan into action.
Yeah.
So she goes downstairs and she removes the light bulb from the outdoor, the porch.
Yep.
And
is it called a porch in America?
I don't know.
I would call it a porch.
Yeah.
Front vestibule. I don't know.
Whatever. She changes the light bulb and she replaces it with an old defective one.
Yes, it looked kind of yellow to me. I didn't know if the one that she removed looked the same, but certainly. Yeah. She tries to switch, it doesn't work. We
can perhaps chat about this in a moment, but I'm not sure if this is actually required, this whole changing the light bulb, but we can talk about that later. We then go back to see Beth in her bedroom.
Yep.
And she ensures that her bedroom French windows are open.
Unlocked, yes.
In fact, unlocked and open. I think she leaves it open.
I'm not sure that it's open. We'll find out.
She turns the alarm on and gets ready for bed.
Yep, she's starting to change.
And we see a fade into the alarm control device.
Yep.
And then a fade out on a really sort of creepy porcelain doll and a sleeping tablet. It's a weird doll. Creeped me out.
Porcelain dolls are by their very nature creepy. I think they can be used in any circumstance to have that effect.
Yeah. So Beth's lying in her bed. She's sitting there. She has a handgun on her stomach.
Yeah.
And she's eating a box of chocolates.
Yep.
And she's waiting.
She's watching the door.
Yep. Then we have a really, well,
what I called a watery cut. Now,
is that a technical term?
I don't know.
Or is that something that happens to a fisherman?
This really upset me when I was watching it. I was like, what's going on here? I don't think it was clear. But this was a dream/imagination sequence. Although looking back, you can see they were setting that up. She's sitting in her bed with the chocolate. Yeah. She's probably dozed off.
Yeah.
She's imagining how the plan's going to go.
I think I'm trying to remember when I first watched this. Yeah, I probably was confused as well. But what this is doing is it's obviously showing what our plan should have been, what should have happened.
Yeah,
so that we can understand the flaws that allow Columbo to arrive at the ultimate conclusion.
Yep.
So why don't you describe what she tries to do, or what she's planning to do?
With this entire scene in what I called a watery focus, which was horrible to watch, Bryce arrives home. He can't get in the front door because his key's been switched for a sort of a fake one of the same key. He goes round to the patio door, knocks, asks Beth to go to the front door.
Can I interrupt you? I don't think it's been switched. She stole it. He doesn't have one.
No, I think she put a fake one on. See, I didn't mention it when we went through, so I think she puts a fake one that looks similar, but isn't the right key.
Okay.
That's what I thought. I could be wrong, but we could always go back and look at that.
We can. No, okay.
In any event, he goes to the patio door, chaps the patio door, and asks Beth to let him in the front door. She says she's in bed, just to come in, it's unlocked. And he says, turn off the alarm. She says, it's off, turned it off. He comes in, the alarm sounds. He starts to say, why didn't you turn off the alarm? She shoots him.
Yep, shoots him twice.
Yeah.
Now, in this scene, we get to see the reaction for the first time, I think, of a victim. He clasps his stomach and sort of falls to the ground.
Yeah, because we're not actually seeing the murder. I suppose it's a dream of a murder.
But I think we see the same reaction in the actual killing.
Possibly. Certainly, you see more of it than the other ones, but we still don't see any kind of blood or gore or, it's more sort of a suggestion of violence.
Yeah. He's carrying a briefcase.
Yes. And
Beth takes this briefcase and she smashes the French windows from the outside.
Before that, though, she replaces the correct key on his keychain. And then you kind of hear vague sounds without any pictures of police interviews, her dropping the key into the bushes with the words over the top.
I think we actually have a short clip, so we'll listen to this clip just now.
I just woke up and reached for the gun. I thought it was a burglar.
Obviously a mistake, Miss Chadwick. A terrible mistake.
I thought it was a burglar.
A terrible mistake. 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 Mistake.
So yeah, it was a strange use of a strange sort of techniques that were in place here.
Yeah, I mean, it was only at the end, that bit that we just heard, where it occurred to me, well, she must be dreaming or imagining this. I wasn't sure which.
Mm-hmm.
You heard the police talking about the light being burned out and basically accepting her story.
Mm-hmm.
That was how it worked in her imagination or in her... It seems more like an imagination than a dream because it goes the way she wants.
Yeah.
And her story's accepted. And I wasn't sure whether one of those voices was Columbo's voice or not. You don't think so?
No, I think it was just some generic cop.
Police interviewer, yeah.
Also, when I watched this, because we had a focus on the sleeping tablet.
Yeah.
That whole sort of dreamlike sequence is, if you've ever taken a sleeping tablet before, it's the type of feeling, the sort of woozy headedness you get if you've taken a sleeping tablet
Right.
and remain awake.
Okay.
So I thought that was maybe what it was.
Right, so she'd taken the pill and this actually happened.
No, I don't think it actually happened. I just think
Right.
it was trying to, reflect the feeling that you get when you're under that sort of sedation.
Yeah. Okay, the first thing we cut to once that's finished is a plane landing.
Yeah, and then we go to Peter's apartment, his home.
Yes, he's returning home and opening his mail, or opens one particular piece of mail.
He opens his mail and he obviously reads a letter from Bryce. I don't think we've mentioned his name yet. So the brother is called Bryce.
Yeah, I think I might have touched on that, but yes, Bryce in my summary, but it's Bryce Chadwick.
Yes. He's obviously quite angry, emotional about this letter telling him to...
rather than thinking, oh yeah, I'll just break off, I need my job, it's more of a sort of a reaction you would expect from someone who did genuinely have an investment in the relationship.
Yeah. We then go to Beth's home. We revert back to...
Well, yes, and you see Bryce in his car and you think, oh, he's alive after all.
So at this point we certainly realised that the first take was a dream or an imagining of how it should transpire.
Yeah.
So in this case, in reality, Bryce, he rings the bell and we get a close-up at that point of Beth's manic eyes.
Yep.
She's obviously quite startled. She realises what's about to happen. It sort of hit home what's about to come to pass in the next few moments.
And we're kind of getting intercut with Hamilton arriving shortly behind.
Yeah, this
Bryce.
whole sort of scene, we see him arriving at the gates. The gates are locked. We see Beth preparing. She takes aim. She takes out the gun. She's at the end of her four-poster bed.
Yeah, she's looking for...
Aiming, waiting for Bryce to come through the
patio doors. But he never
French
comes.
windows.
Yeah.
He doesn't come. He arrives via the bedroom door.
Yep, and asks her what's going on with the keys.
Yeah, and Beth continues with her plan anyway and shoots him 3 times.
Yeah, before that though, he explains to her that he kept a spare in the flower pot.
Yeah, which is key to, if you excuse
the pun.
Excuse the pun.
Yes, he shoots him anyway, and at this point Hamilton, who was giving up to go home, hears the shots and returns.
But Beth, just after she shoots, because Bryce did not come in through the...
They didn't set the alarm off.
Because he came in through the window, he didn't set the alarm off, and she had to manually set the alarm after.
See, the impression I got was that the alarm went off because Hamilton was climbing the gate, but maybe it was her setting it off manually.
She set that off.
Right.
And this is obviously a big issue which we will discuss towards the end of this episode.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was obviously an issue at the point.
Yeah.
As well as I find it strange it wasn't brought up sooner.
Mm-hmm. What happens next, Ian?
Hamilton's arriving. He knocks the door. So Beth answers the door. She's going to get the keys hidden in her fist.
No. Sorry, just before then.
Well, she takes his attaché case. Bryce's
Briefcase,
attaché case,
yes.
and takes it back.
She realises this has been left
Yep.
at the front door,
Yes.
not where it should be.
No.
So she grabs that. She runs back up to the bedroom.
Yep.
And carries out her plan. She smashes the...
Yeah, she's basically carrying out her plan, but in a hurried way, because she understands that there will be people there. They'll have heard the shots.
Yep. So she still has... She replaces the key that she stole.
Yes.
Back on Bryce's keyring.
But she's still got the spare.
She's still got the spare in her
and
hand.
she's got the keyring in her hand because she needs to dump it outside.
Yeah. So she answers the door to Peter.
Yes.
First thing she says is, "Oh, I shot Bryce."
Yes, as you would.
As you would.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah.
And asks him to go and to check to confirm this.
Yeah.
to give her a chance to get rid of the keyring.
Yeah, it takes her a minute just to kind of get her bearings, and she dumps the keyring, but she's kind of not sure what to do with the spare key.
Yeah. She hides that behind a statue.
She sets it down, inside the front door, but I don't think she leaves it there.
No, she'll take that away.
She takes it away again.
Yeah, but she initially leaves it behind a statue. And then Peter Hamilton returns.
Yeah, and says Betty's dead.
Confirms that, yeah.
And the note I've taken at this point, it's quite interesting actually when you look back on the whole episode up to this point, the way that they've shown how a plan can go wrong.
Yeah.
You normally don't get that, you just get what happens. Whereas this time we got, here's the plan, how it's planned, and here's the plan, how it happened, and you can see the little things that can change everything.
I think it shows, as you said, it shows you how easily one or two things, if they go awry, the whole plan's up in the air.
Yeah, and this was one of the better plans that we've seen from the premeditated killings.
I think it was.
And it still went badly
because
wrong.
I think it was one of the better plans because she didn't try to hide the fact that she was doing the killing.
Yeah.
So we're only talking about whether or not it was deliberate or an accident. So I think it's quite smart to do it in such a way.
Yeah.
We then go to the same home, Beth's home, later on in the evening when the police have arrived.
Yeah, the ambulance is leaving with the body, I think, at that point.
It is. And we see, this is Columbo's introduction to the episode.
Yeah.
He's bent over a newspaper. I think one of the other cops asks him if, sort of jokingly, if he's catching up in some reading. But he's obviously puzzled. There's something...
Yeah, he's not happy.
No, he's confused about something. He's reading this newspaper but and can't work out. There's something wrong.
Yeah. Interestingly, Beth's interview is being led by a different policeman.
Yeah.
But obviously, they maybe don't think it's a homicide at this point, but then Columbo's been called, he's there. So.
I don't think that's perhaps not the most... he's more of an investigator. You'll get some less senior
he'll
people
start from the initial interviews, but you sometimes find him doing these because he gets clues from the immediate reactions. So.
I think it just depends on what he wants to do at the time. He's in charge.
Sure.
So Columbo walks through to another part, the main sort of living room.
Yeah.
And as you say, Beth is telling her story to some other senior cop.
Yeah.
And she's telling him that the front door will automatically set off the alarm if it's used without the key. And Columbo is listening into this, and the cop asks why Bryce went through can she provide an answer to why Bryce went through the windows? And she actually plays it quite well. She doesn't give all the answers. She's not giving the whole here's exactly how things happened. It's more I assume he did this, or it must have been this. Yeah.
But it's not presented in a way like we saw with Ken Franklin, like we saw with...
It's not too obvious, not too contrived. And she confirms that she went to her bed at 9:30.
Yeah, but critically she also says she didn't go out
that day. She didn't go out.
And Columbo kind of jumps on that.
He asks her to confirm that, and she's quite adamant.
Yes.
So there's no mistake here.
He's being very clear.
I think this is the first... He actually mentions it later in the episode. This is in fact, he says as much that he knew this was not an accident at
this point. Right at that point.
Yeah. Which is possible.
Yeah, I mean, we quickly move across to Hamilton being interviewed by a different police officer. Columbo is kind of wandered over there.
Yeah, and he says that he heard 3 shots when he was at the gate, and the alarm... At this point, he just says the alarm was going.
Yeah.
And he provides some details about, where he's been in the last few hours, that he's just off a plane and came across.
Yeah, and Columbo checks if it's his newspaper, and he says it's not.
Oh, yeah. He explains about the relationship between the two of them and the tension that was causing with Bryce.
Yeah.
And he admits that he came over to the house that evening because he wanted to have it out with Bryce, which again is understandable. I think at this point another cop produces the keys from the bushes.
Yeah,
Beth had left.
There's a few more questions, and that scene kind of peters out a wee bit.
And I think the senior cop wants Beth to recount the story one more time, and Hamilton's insistent. It shows that I think he does care about her. Yeah,
he's trying to protect her a wee bit.
Yeah, he says, "Can we do this tomorrow?"
And she insists on telling the story.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a nice it's actually quite a nice stressed and anxious performance here, which reminded me of Jim Ferris's wife in Murder by the Book.
Then this is another one.
Yep. So she's upset, and even though she is the killer,
you would still be upset.
You still be upset, and the fact is killed your own brother.
Yeah.
So, you know,
You don't know what's going to happen.
you don't know what's going to happen, so you are sort of stressed and anxious.
Yeah.
But it was a nice performance by the actress. The actress, maybe worth mentioning at the moment, was Susan Clark.
Okay.
Or is Susan Clark. Don't know too much about her. She did win an Emmy in 1975, and she was best known in the States for a sitcom known as Webster, which ran from 83 to 89.
Not one I'm aware of.
Neither have I. Well, I've not seen it myself. The one thing that I have seen her in, and I wasn't aware of until recently, is that she was the infamous Cherry Forever in Porky's.
I've not seen that.
Ah, okay. Are you aware of the movie, the sort of raunchy 80s teen comedy, Porky's?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
It's like sort of the father of American Pie, etc.
Right, okay.
That type of sort of ribald humour.
Okay.
But she played a lady of the night in quite a famous role. But so that was her.
Okay.
Columbo has another couple of questions, or one more question. He asks, or he states that he assumes that the staff were off that night or that day.
Yeah.
And she confirms this to be the case. But the way he asks or states the question is basically saying, yeah, that's convenient. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, you get the feeling that, as usual, Columbo has sniffed out a rat here.
Okay. We go to the next day, and we are at the exterior of Beth's home.
Yeah, and there's a taxi pulling up.
Okay, tell me what happens here.
This is Columbo is up a ladder looking at the bulb in the porch, and a woman and a dog come out of the taxi. The dog comes out first, and it's furious with Columbo for no apparent reason.
What's your thoughts on this character?
The dog?
No, the owner.
She's clearly a bit of a pain. She treats Columbo badly. She mistakes him for staff.
Yeah.
And asks him to bring in the luggage and pay for the taxi.
Which he does.
He does. Credit to him, he does that. But
yeah, she seems quite very sort of expectant woman.
Yes, she reminds me of a more affluent version of the mother from episode 3.
Yes. Again, this is sort of off at a tangent, but for anyone who is a fan of Fawlty Towers, there is an episode where there is a guest in the hotel, and it's being fed sausages.
Right.
But she actually looks and reminds me quite a lot of the actress. It's not the same actress, but very similar characteristics. So, as you say, Columbo pays for her taxi.
Yep.
Brings the luggage in. What always struck me in this particular scene is that the taxi driver doesn't offer to help. He looks quite bemused, and I think he's a lack of respect for Columbo in that, he can't believe that someone's been spoken to like this, and that's his sort of role in life.
Yeah.
And he watches him shuffling with the luggage and gives him a tip. I think it's a sort of 50-cent tip.
Yeah, and we heard last week that $2 was a massive tip, so 50 cents for that fare is probably a decent tip.
Although, not if it's still the same ratio as, if you're looking to leave a 10% tip.
I don't know what the standard is there.
I think in the States, 10, 15, certainly 20% wouldn't be uncommon.
Right.
So I think it might be slightly on the low side.
I don't know.
We get into the home, and what happens?
So Columbo comes in with the luggage, and he's able at that point to make it clear who he is, that he's not staff, and she seems a little bit embarrassed, but not overwhelmingly, I would say.
No, because he explains who he is, that he's a police officer.
Yeah.
He flashes ID, and she tells him not so quickly and demands to see it.
Yeah, and I think we can listen to that part.
My name is Columbo, ma'am. I'm a lieutenant from the police.
Just a minute, not so quickly. I'd like to look that over. Well, I must say you hardly look the role.
Well, you know how it is.
So again, we have a sort of typical Columbo trope here.
Yeah, we see this over and over, and it's almost like they're hammering it home to the audience. Columbo doesn't look like a cop.
Yeah.
Even out with the context of each individual episode, it's a point that's being made.
Well, like I say, we don't up to this point anyway have a theme tune, so
Nope.
there needs to be some sort of catch, some sort of hook
Yeah, and in this episode we do hear the line "just one more thing," but not in the same. It's not quite as pronounced.
He's not walking out a door and then turning back. But I think this is the first time he actually utters the famous lines. Yeah,
we'll come to that obviously.
We will.
This scene continues with Beth showing up.
Yeah, she enters the scene. The mother approaches. They walk towards it, or the mother walks towards Beth.
Yeah, well, Beth's appeared in the background while the mother's talking to Columbo and chips into the conversation when she's mentioned, and the mother just strides up to her and gives her a smacker in the face.
What did you think of that?
It was tricky because obviously she has just killed the woman's son, but then she is the daughter, so obviously the mother's affections were primarily with the son, I would imagine, which is not very sympathetic. You would expect there to be at least a degree of sympathy.
True. However, I have noted that later in this scene, she sticks up for her twice.
She does. She does. So it's obviously a tricky situation. I mean, there's no way that you're supposed to feel. So I think you can let her off with.
I mean, as you say there, her son has been killed by her daughter.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It's a horrible accident. She's obviously angry and upset. Beth apologises for the embarrassment to Columbo.
Yeah.
And there's another family mention here where he said his family's so big. I think it was like Madison Square Gardens at dinner time. So that's another mention.
Interesting that he uses a New York reference. We've not really heard anything about where Columbo's from, but he does
that's
use
true. I didn't pick up on that myself, but yeah, good point.
Yeah. And we also found out here that he drinks his coffee black.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
I don't know if that's going to come up again, but certainly we hear it here.
He drinks it black, I think, in most cases, but I can remember off the top of my head at least one or two other times where he asked for cream.
There you go.
So both.
I think that's reasonable. I drink my coffee black, but if someone offered me cream, I would take it.
You're drinking a latte at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah.
There we go. So
Columbo's still worried about the newspaper. He's bringing it up again in this interview.
But beforehand they talk about, I think, so Columbo wants to get rid of, or get Beth out of the scene, out of the room for a few moments so he can talk to the mother.
Right.
So, he asks for coffee, and then he has a discussion with the mother, Mrs. Chadwick, about Bryce.
Yes.
And she basically says that he's been keeping the family together since the father died. He was running the business.
Yeah, and Columbo takes exception to her use of the word together because she doesn't live anywhere near there. She's away out in the bay somewhere, I think. Yeah,
somewhere else. He was taking it literally. And it's clear that he was running the business and looking after, in her eyes, Beth, the daughter.
Yeah.
Beth obviously saw it more as controlling her as opposed to looking after her.
Sure.
There was another sort of funny line as well when Columbo made the point that Bryce had never married. And I think back in the 70s, that would maybe been more suggestive than what it is today, because she took offence to that that particular question.
What are you insinuating? He just hasn't met the right woman yet.
Yeah. So that leads us on to her explanation for that, in that he was very business focused. The business meant everything, and he didn't have any time.
Yeah.
And she is now concerned about who will look after the business after he's, now that he's gone. And at that point,
Beth chips in, and I think it's worth listening to what she says.
I don't know what's going to happen to the company now. I certainly can't run it. And I don't want to bring anyone in from the outside.
You won't have to.
And what does that mean?
It means that I'm an officer of the company.
In name only.
That's because Bryce would never let me participate.
Of course he wouldn't. You aren't even capable of running your own life.
I've never been allowed to run my own life. Lieutenant, won't you sit down?
Thank you.
But things are different now, aren't they? There's a change in the status quo.
So it's quite obvious there that she's got plans.
There's a metamorphosis underway here. I think that's one of the sort of themes throughout the entire episode. This is the first time we see the change.
Yes.
The mother is, she can't believe what she's hearing. It's also quite interesting that, when she comes through and she's now very assertive, Columbo, there's a nice couple of scenes where Columbo looks very embarrassed. Actually, even though he said in the past, earlier in the scene, that he's used to this type of thing, I don't think he can believe how Beth is now talking to the mother.
Brazen.
Very brazen.
That's maybe the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I talked about this 30 seconds ago or less, but this is really where he gets into the bit about the newspaper, and she says, could have been delivered to the house.
Well, yeah, and I like the way he makes her feel at ease by asking the question.
Yep.
Because she says, have you not heard of home delivery?
Yeah.
So she thinks that she's answered this sufficiently and there's no issue.
Yeah.
And he waits a moment and says, no, that can't be the answer. Because it was a late edition with some sports results in it.
Yeah.
And she has no explanation for this.
No, but the mother has a good line here, and you mentioned this a moment ago about sticking up for Beth. Mm-hmm. The mother says something that I think lots of times when I'm watching lots of different police dramas. She says, it's foolish of you to expect rational behaviour at a time like that. Yes, yeah. Exactly that, so many times.
Yes, I think... okay, well, let's talk about what happened here. Firstly, Beth suggested that she said that Bryce might have brought it in with him.
Yes.
And that was disputed because...
Wrong part of the house.
Wrong part of the house. So she then said that she must have brought it through from the bedroom, the murder scene, to the entrance.
And Columbo says, why would you bring that but not his briefcase?
Yeah.
And this is where the mother...
And the mother says, well, you don't do things that are rational at that point. And I agree with that.
That's entirely reasonable, yeah.
Yeah. You might pick something up, you might not pick everything up.
Your brain might not be working properly, you're not acting in a rational way. So then to retrospectively apply logic to every action, I think is unfair. And it's not just TV shows that do this as well. You see this in court. I've seen it in court when I've been doing lawyering, I should emphasise. That this happens. You have a criminal or a suspicious incident and months and years later, folk are asked to account for things in a rational, logical way, and it's not how people think in the heat of the moment.
Yep, I mean, I don't think it would stand up in court, but I think, again, it's just supporting... Again, it's one of these things that Columbo niggles at. It's a loose end. Something that obviously, it's a flag to him that something's not quite right.
Yeah. And he ends this scene by getting his money back.
Yeah, I mean, the mother actually, in fairness, sticks up for Beth twice. The first time is that she says that it looks as if he's cross-examining her.
Yes.
He is.
Yes.
And she's quite savvy at this point.
Yeah, alert to that.
And understands that this is what's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, the final scene here is quite funny as well. He's leaving and he's asking for... I think we played this.
Yeah, we played it at the start of the episode.
Where he wants his $11 back.
Yeah, he's not letting it go.
Yeah. Because to him, as we understand, money's it's a lot of money for him.
Yeah.
She says, "Leave me a card and I'll get a cheque sent across," but he's not taking that and demands the cash, and he seems quite happy to receive the cash. Yeah,
I mean, if you think about his monthly salary based on the wages that we talked about in previous episodes, that's probably more than 1% of his entire monthly income.
I'm sure it's not an insignificant amount back then. The actress who played the mother, Mrs. Chadwick, was Jessie Royce Medbury. This, again, don't know much about her myself, but what I do know was that it was her last ever role.
Okay.
So she died shortly after in 1972, aged 75.
There you go.
But she'd previously been in a number of different movies and TV shows. North by Northwest, Airport, and To Catch a Thief.
Okay, heard of that.
So the next... Now, this is interesting.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, we go to the courthouse. You can chat about this one, Ian.
Yeah, I've got some courthouse experience.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a trial. She's not on trial here. This is a coroner inquiry. They're trying to establish whether the death was accidental or whether there's cause for investigation into it. The jury returns and declares that the death was an accident and the inquest is closed. Now, it's implied at this point that significant evidence has been led. We also presume that some period of time has passed to allow that to be done. So Columbo's had a chance to get his evidence together to make his case and to have it presented at the inquiry, and it has not been successful.
Correct.
But from Columbo's point of view, obviously this is not a criminal proceeding, so he isn't finished with it.
You see, at this point, I think he has to wait, because if it comes back as, not accidental, then he's got an official sort of jurisdiction to progress things further.
Yes.
So he has to wait until,
Yeah, but you would have thought he would have made as best of a case as he could prior to the inquiry to push it that direction.
Sure.
He knew, if he's saying he knew from day one, this is definitely not accidental, you would have thought he would have been able to present some, or allowed the advocate or barrister or solicitor involved to present some form of information to the
because we see him
inquiry.
late. Yeah, he waits until after this before he starts doing more sort of investigating, and the clues that he discovers could have been produced.
Yeah, and it's almost like he takes the hump at the fact that it was going the other way and says, well, you know, I don't care what they think. I'm going to keep investigating this. Is there no one, you know, managing him? Is this a reasonable use of his time if it's been found that it's not? And a couple of occasions in this case he says to folk, well, this is not official, this is just for me. Mm-hmm. Is that not a waste of police time if he's using his employment hours?
Columbo's a maverick, he gets results. That's all we need to know. He's on a very loose
he's got carte blanche to just, you know, bring in the killers. When
you've got his conviction record, you can do what you like.
Well, not that we know about his conviction record, but
not his conviction record, but
he's finding the right person record.
A little bit of interesting trivia. There is someone sitting in the public gallery, a female,
right?
A woman who makes a prediction of the verdict based on some sort of planetary alignment.
Yes, sitting next to Columbo. Yes,
that's Marcia Wallace.
We talked about her in episode 1.
Mrs. Krabappel.
Edna Krabappel from The Simpsons.
Yes. And we mentioned her. She was apparently also in Murder by the Book as an extra. But
we couldn't find her.
But we can confirm that's her in that particular
definitely
scene.
Spotted her in this one then.
So the scene ends by, Hamilton suggests to Beth that after this, the verdict, life can now go back to normal.
Yeah, Columbo's eavesdropping in this conversation. It's quite neat because a few things get said.
Yep. And she suggests or states that that's the last thing she wants.
Yeah.
So again, this change.
We heard the clip earlier on about this metamorphosis, this sort of changing of how she acts, how she behaves, and how she manages her life. And it continues here. She's got a plan and she's going to put it into place.
So Columbo invites Hamilton. Well, Hamilton asks Beth to go for lunch.
Yeah, and she turns him down.
Yeah, because she's so busy with business now and being powerful and got all sorts of other things on her mind.
She wants a meeting called and stuff
she
like
does. So Columbo takes this opportunity to suggest that Hamilton join him for a lunch. He treats him to a cheap...
a drive-in burgery thing.
Yeah, he's obviously unimpressed. Hamilton looks at the burger and decides not to eat it and has a sip of coffee.
Yeah.
So...
This is one of the times that Columbo says, nothing official, I just have a bug about loose ends. Now, whether that's just a line or whether he is going off on his own here, it's not clear.
Well, what we get from this scene is that Hamilton confirms that he and Beth will be getting married.
Yes. But
and on the night of the shooting, he was angry and he went over there to have it out. See, he's not denying anything. He's not...
Well, he's got nothing to hide. He doesn't know... He's not aware of any wrongdoing, so he's got no reason to lie about anything.
Yeah. But Columbo, he says it was quite a coincidence that he arrived just as the shooting happened.
Yeah.
And Hamilton asks if he thinks that they both murdered Bryce. So Hamilton comes right out with it and says, "Do you think that there was some sort of conspiracy here?"
Yeah.
But Columbo definitely states that it was not. He doesn't believe it was a conspiracy.
He's not gonna. Yeah, he's not gonna commit to it being a conspiracy or anything like that. But he does have a line here.
Yeah.
He suggests to Peter, and he tries to play it down, but it's clear this is the thing that's pushing his thinking. He says, "In a way, her brother's death was the best thing that ever happened to her."
He does say that, and that is a implication of his, or it's a revelation of his thinking, his thoughts, his suspicion. And I think Hamilton picks up on that.
Yeah.
For the first time, realises that Columbo may have, other thoughts about what happened.
Yeah. I think Hamilton's smarter than he gets credit for from a couple of folk in this episode.
Yeah.
He's in tune with what's going on.
Mm-hmm. We go back to the front of Beth's luxurious home, and we see Columbo inspecting a new sports car that has just been delivered.
Yeah.
And he talks to two of the staff.
Yeah.
Who tell him that Beth is at the beauty parlour.
Eugene's beauty parlour.
Eugene's. So Columbo tells him he's going to, don't worry about me, I'm going to go and conduct an experiment.
Yes.
Well, he walks round to the outside of Beth's bedroom, on the grass.
And he looks at his shoe.
And he takes off his shoe and he looks at the sole, and we see the staff looking on, quite bemused about what this odd-looking little fellow is doing.
Yeah, and then he drives to Eugene's.
And he walks in with his cigar.
I love the line that the receptionist has here.
Which was?
He's on his way, he's heading through to the beauty parlour and he's still got his cigar. She says to Mickey he has to leave it behind because the fragrance is not compatible.
Yeah, very delicate. So Columbo walks through to where Beth is being attended to by two members of staff.
We've missed a part. Because in the previous scene there was a new car outside the house.
Yeah, I said that, and it's just been delivered.
Did you say that and I completely wasn't listening?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a new car outside the house. But this is important because this had to be pre-ordered.
Yeah. Now, how Beth deals with this. So they're in the beauty parlour, and Beth confirms that the car had to be pre-ordered.
Yeah.
Or ordered in advance.
Yes.
And Columbo, he's talking to her about this new style. So she's got new clothes on, new hairstyle, new attitude.
Yep.
And I think there's a mention of a different pace, different outlook.
Yeah, she's changed everything
since the death of Bryce. But Columbo is confused as to how this new car fits in with this new lifestyle. But this new lifestyle was only realised or only put into action because of the untimely death.
Yeah, we've got an issue here, and we've noted this in previous episodes, of not knowing the timescales. We don't know how long there was between the death and the inquest verdict. We don't know how long there was between the inquest verdict and now. So Columbo's suspicious that the car was ordered and is already here. Mm-hmm. We have to take it on face value that he's right to be suspicious about that, but we don't know how many weeks or months passed.
We don't, but the fact that it was interesting that Beth did not give an answer. She basically ignored that question.
Yeah.
So we assume that there isn't an obvious, answer to that, and that Columbo is correct in his thinking.
I mean, I think it would have been easy enough for her just to say, she'd had enough. She was making a change, and the fact that he died is irrelevant.
So he's got some other issues anyway that he wants to chat to Bryce about, to Beth about.
Yeah.
At her house. So,
yes, and she agrees to follow him there.
Yep, and as he leaves, he
gets his cigar back. But it doesn't seem to have burned down that much in the time he was in there.
I don't know if I think a cigar may stop.
Just smoulder
if you don't actually smoke it. Not sure.
Don't know. It's been a while since I had a cigar.
Like a pipe. You need to keep a pipe going.
Right.
Okay. So we're outside Beth's home now.
Yes, he demonstrates his grass theory.
He does. He takes her around to her, outside her bedroom window.
Yep.
And this happened it happens to be the same day of the week.
Yep.
To when the murder happened.
Yep.
And that's the same day the grass is cut.
Yep.
And he shows that if you walk on the grass after it's been cut, there should be particles of grass or shreds of grass over your feet, which would have been transferred into the carpet in the bedroom.
Well, no, Columbo thinks they should still have been on his feet, and Beth's response is they must have been there and then come off on the carpet, but oh well, it's been cleaned. And
at this point, she obviously understands that
he's still sniffing around, digging around.
Yeah.
But the things that he's come up with are so trivial, though. I can understand why she would be dismissive.
They are trivial, but they're small. But I'm not sure if I would agree they're trivial. Mm-hmm. I say they're small points that you would easily overlook, as she did.
Yeah.
But I think that they're fairly factual.
Sure, but I don't think they're anything that you would use as evidence in a criminal prosecution. Oh, he didn't have grass in his shoe. Oh, we don't know he probably didn't have grass in his shoe. We can't remember. We can't check now.
Yeah, not on its own, but he's building up a picture here. He's building up lots of little things.
Yeah.
Which point to obviously one conclusion. But yeah, her response is again basically, well, too bad. It's you can't prove anything.
Yeah, I don't think she's even accepting that she's under suspicion here. She doesn't think there's anything, and she raises the inquest verdict, I think, in this scene after the next little part, because Columbo goes to talk about the spare key.
Yes, and he actually says just one more thing.
Yes.
At this point.
Yeah.
I think that is the first time he's actually used that exact line.
Yeah, and like we said at the top of the show, he doesn't do it in the way that you expect where he's leaving and comes back, or it's the end of the conversation and he brings it up. It's more part of the conversation.
Yeah, and what it relates to is that he has found a plant pot which has the imprint of or where a key would have been.
Yeah. And once again, her response is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a spare key. I had a spare key there. I took it away because it was a security flaw. And I was quite right to do that, as you can see.
Yeah, it's a very reasonable explanation.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything he can do about it. Obviously, Columbo's not happy with it because he's decided that she's committed a crime.
And Beth, as you may think, gets rightly angry then at this stage.
Yeah, and again, all Columbo says, he doesn't say he's on an official investigation. He just says he's trying to tie up loose ends because he's compulsive that way.
But she says that he's finally overstayed his welcome.
Yes, she wants left alone, as you would, is the note I've taken.
Well, as you said, there's a little sort of... he says he's compulsive and his wife would testify to that, and she, I think there's a slight level of innuendo there because sort of she laughs and he gets a little bit embarrassed. But the scene ends with, again, her being quite firm and insists that he leave her alone.
Yeah.
Or leaves her alone. So we then go to...
This
is a weird scene.
I've noted it down as a fashion event, but I don't really know what it is.
No, I think it's just a shop.
Right.
So Beth's buying clothes in some sort of boutique.
She dragged Peter along.
Peter's there, and he's playing pool and drinking at the bar. So there's a bar and a pool table in this clothes shop.
I don't even know. Unless it's a pop-up shop in a club of some kind.
I have no idea. Maybe again it was big in LA in the 70s where
Who knows? But
you could buy clothes and at the same time play pool and drink beer.
Well, that seems like a good plan. How you get dragged out shopping by your other half to have the opportunity to drink a beer and play some pool while they're off shopping. I quite like that plan.
Yeah, but your credit card might be loosened with the alcohol somewhat.
Well, she's the one that's got the money.
No, that's true. Okay. And Beth tries on some sort of skimpier clothes and certainly, a departure from her previous style.
Yeah, and I think this scene is the first one where you start to see Peter not liking the way she's changing. Right. It's almost like he feels emasculated, I think. Like he saw himself as, I am the man of this relationship. This is a traditional, coupling, and this is how things will be. And now things are getting challenged a bit. Yeah. He's not comfortable with that.
And he's not interested in helping her shop. He wants to leave. She says that she's happy to remain where she is.
Yeah.
So he leaves on his own.
He doesn't seem bothered.
I think, does he not? I think he says something along the lines of, "That's it. You're not the person I thought you were." And
yeah,
I don't really like this change.
Yep.
But she still allows him to leave.
Yes, and the next time we see them is at the meeting.
And this meeting. So at the meeting we have Hamilton, we have the mother, we have a lot of executives.
It seems to be the board of directors.
It's a boardroom,
yeah.
Like that, the clothing, the outfit she's got on, I know it was the 70s.
Yeah.
But I can't believe that even in the 70s that would be an appropriate dress attire to hold a board meeting.
I think she's making a point.
Oh, she's making a point, all right, but like I say, it was way over the top.
Yeah.
Even for the 70s, I would have thought it was quite ridiculous.
Yeah, I think at this point she doesn't care what anybody else thinks.
Yeah. Worth noting, there's a lot of executives in this scene.
Yeah.
And throughout this entire episode, I think perhaps the courtroom scene and the scene with the executives, there's a number of extras who have appeared in numerous Columbo episodes. Too many for me to sort of mention, but I think there's at least sort of half a dozen actors who have played, extras in many of them.
Okay.
But yeah, so we have this boardroom scene.
Yep, she calls the meeting to order. She's got a short presentation to give. Which is all kinds of wrong.
Yeah.
She's assuming the presidency, which she's entitled to do as, they've clearly made her an on-paper officer of the company, and with the death of her brother, despite it not being intended, she has the right, therefore, to be making these decisions.
She also promotes Hamilton to head of accounts.
Without telling him in advance that she was going to do it.
He seems quite embarrassed, because I think he realises how other people will take that promotion or believe how he got the promotion.
I don't think he believes it's an earned promotion. He's not happy.
No. It seems like a decent guy, to be honest. Peter Hamilton is,
straight up. Anyway, I don't know about decent, because he clearly has a sort of an outdated nowadays view of how relationships should be and things like that.
Yeah, no.
But certainly, he straight-laced is maybe the phrase I would use. By the book, perhaps.
Yeah. This scene, effectively, Beth says there'll be lots of changes.
She wants to change the whole philosophy of the business.
Entire way. There's a couple of sort of more traditional executives who say, this is not how we do it. And she effectively says, my way or the highway.
Yeah, you're welcome to leave. And they say they can change their approach. And then, as she's adjourning it, she announces her engagement.
As an afterthought.
Yeah, and also without checking with him first.
Yeah. So after this meeting, as it it breaks up. The mother, Mrs. Chadwick, she confronts Beth.
Yeah, well, Peter does as well. The two of them come up to him.
And the mother says that she's a majority shareholder and can effectively veto this change.
Yeah, and Beth calls her bluff.
And says, well, I'll take this, we'll go to court if it's required. You wouldn't like that, would you?
Yeah, the shame.
The shame, and this shocks the mother. But it's interesting, this is a sort of scene where she's broken because there's no fight left in her. Yeah. As she leaves, I think she says, we'll discuss this, further in the future.
Yeah.
And the mother says, yeah, well, fair enough, okay. As you wish.
Yeah. I mean, the mother doesn't leave, but she kind of backs off the
conversation.
Backs off, yeah. She's still in the room.
She's resigned to Beth being in control now. And Columbo arrives at this point.
Yes, and he's got a treat for the dog.
Yeah. The dog still isn't happy, and the mother doesn't seem too happy with Columbo either.
Yeah.
And Beth again is quite firm with him.
Oh, she's fed up with him.
Yep, and tells him that he will be brief.
Yes. And he's got the burnt out bulb. I think he says he's been to get it from the house.
Yeah.
Why would it still be there?
Why would it not be there?
Would they not have changed it for one that worked?
That's actually a very good point. Yeah, this is now.
This is sometime after.
Sometime after. Yes, that is a very good point, Ian. I hadn't thought of that before. I'm trying to think if there's anything that would.
And it also would have had time to accumulate the dirt and dust that he's talking about it not having.
Unless that was,
Unless he got it from the evidence store.
Yes.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, perhaps.
But then why is he bringing it, showing it as evidence and then leaving it with her? He certainly implies, I got the impression that he'd taken it from the house at that point on that day.
Yeah, good point. So yeah, Columbo produces this bulb.
Yeah.
And it's the bulb that's been burnt out.
Yeah.
And he has got an issue with this.
Yes.
What is the issue?
He says it hasn't got an accumulation of dust and dirt that you would expect from a bulb that had been used for the amount of time it would need to burn out.
Yeah.
He talks about it being, it's a 100-watt bulb and it's on 8 hours a day, so it would last X amount of...
And she seems quite amused at this.
Yeah.
At first.
She says it gets cleaned. We've got staff. He's like, oh, that would explain it. And then he gives her the bulb. She's absolutely sick of him by this point. She's not wanting to speak to him anymore. She says to him, look, if you've got a case, go to the DA. If you don't have a case, I don't want to see you. You're not going to get in the house. You're not going to get in the office. Leave me alone. And I think she's quite justified, having had an inquest verdict in her favour and having put up with his harassment for however long, to say to him, look, bring your case or leave me alone.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Columbo goes to leave, and then we think he's about to do one more thing.
Yeah, it looks like, and she's not having any of it.
She cuts him right off.
Yeah.
Says no more questions, and he says he was just about to return the bulb, which he gives back to her.
He does, and as soon as he's gone, she smashes the bulb against the wall.
That's fairly risky. He could only just be outside the door and she's smashing light bulbs. He must have heard that.
Well, but he must know that she's angry with him, so I don't think it's that risky. She's clearly got a reason to be angry with him. But, and this is where Peter raises his concerns once Columbo's left.
Yeah, he says he's unhappy with the arbitrary promotion and that she may have given him the courtesy of informing him first that they were to be married.
Yeah, even though he said to Columbo earlier, I think it's between the whole knowing you want to get married and being engaged thing.
Well, there's that official, there's an official moment where
proposal, which
so,
he's skipped over slightly.
Yeah.
And he says he's not sure she's the same person. And at this point, she kind of bites back. She's not going to just kowtow to him.
Well, she coldly sort of says that Bryce may have actually been right all along and that he may not be the right man for her.
And she's probably quite right there, because I don't think he is.
Yeah.
Well, he's not the right man for who she wants to be.
Yes.
I think that's reasonable, so she should probably call it off.
She should. So we next go to a bar.
Yes.
And Bryce is getting drunk there.
And conveniently, Columbo is also there.
Yep, he sees Columbo and he goes over. And Columbo's reading transcripts of witness
the
statements
inquest.
or inquest.
Yes, the inquest transcript.
Yep.
But he tells Peter when he's offered a drink that he doesn't drink. Now, I'm sure we've seen him drinking bourbon before.
With Ken Franklin, he offered him a drink and he says, I'll have a drop of bourbon.
Yep.
So
why is he saying he doesn't drink?
Yeah,
Strategy.
Strategy,
but Hamilton is not buying that this is a
No,
coincidence.
he says...
well, let's listen to what he says.
Okay.
Lieutenant, I like it. I really do. But you are devious.
Devious?
Now, your job was finished with the coroner's verdict, but you're still hanging around. You're still asking questions. You even managed to bump into me here. Now, Lieutenant, you don't really think that Beth killed her brother in cold blood, now do you?
Well, as a matter of fact, I do.
Yes, you can see there that he's not convinced at all that this is a happy coincidence.
No, and he has admitted in that clip that, well, Columbo has admitted in that clip that he believes that Beth killed Bryce.
Yes, and it's interesting, yeah, because Hamilton is the man he has to win over at this point, he seems to think.
Yeah, what he does, again, there's another mention of Mrs. Columbo, a family mention here, when he explains to Hamilton how he sort of solved it in his head, his cliches, yeah, and that she had mentioned putting the cart before the horse.
Yes.
And that's obviously related to
the alarm and the gunshot, but we don't see that the rest of that conversation.
Well, what he does is he asks Peter that if he has a good memory, if he can recall the events, it should make it clear and be satisfactory in Peter's own mind of what actually transpired, if he can remember accurately that night.
That's it.
We go to
our big denouement, the final scene.
So we're in Beth's bedroom again.
Yes, she's in bed.
She's smoking and drinking in bed, not a sensible combination.
No.
Very much like the scene is set, very much like the initial night, the murder
scene. There's a lot of
scene.
Visual similarities, I think. Yep. I think that's the director at work there.
And she hears the French doors being tried off her bedroom window.
Yeah, and she's not expecting it this time.
No. At first she seems quite startled and frightened, as you would expect.
She goes to phone the police.
Yep. But then she hangs up.
No, she
changes her mind.
She believes it's Columbo, so she's calling him.
So she calls out his name, and she picks up a gun and invites him in. Now, do you think at this point, I'm not sure about this myself, do you think that what she wanted was him to come through the doors and she could kill him like she killed Bryce?
I don't think she picks up the gun until she starts to waver on whether it's him or not. She's called him a few times, he's not answered or come in, and then she picks up the gun. So I'm thinking she's maybe wondering, is this actually... Because she goes to the door at that point. She pulls back the curtain and sees there's nobody there. Yeah. So I think she started to think maybe it's not Columbo.
I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I think she might want to... This would be She's obviously knows that Columbo is suspicious of her. Mm. And again, although it would be a
How could you pull it off twice?
It would be a horrible coincidence that two people accidentally died in the exact same manner.
I'm not buying that. I don't think she did that.
But what happens is Columbo enters like Bryce through the bedroom door. And she is shocked at first. Mm-hmm. And Columbo, there's a flashback, a very quick flashback to Bryce. She sees Bryce standing there for a second. And he says that was how Bryce arrived, by using the spare key. So he details the plot, he details what happened. He explains the scenario.
And he says that he's here to arrest her and he had to wait for proof, but that he's now spoken to her fiancé, who remembers the shots came before the alarm. And that with all the other holes in her story, he's confident of conviction. Yeah.
At this stage, she starts to... You can see behind her dressing gown, she is starting to sort of cock the handgun.
She's obviously distressed at this point, and she pulls out the gun.
She does pull out the gun.
And points at Columbo, and he says, there's police everywhere, don't do that. So she doesn't.
Yeah.
Gives him the gun.
He says that you're too classy a lady for that. Go and get changed, take as much time as you need.
Yeah.
And that's how it finishes up. Now, I must admit, the ending was over rather quickly without a massive amount of explanation without spending an awful lot of time tying this up. Yeah. It was a fairly weak ending, I thought. And
it's a fairly weak case as well.
Well, yeah. Let's think about the ending itself. She should simply have kept her mouth shut. There's no need to pull out the gun. I don't think
there's a problem with her pulling out the gun because she had their door rattled.
After she discovered it was Columbo. She pulls out the weapon.
Yeah, well, she's distressed. He's here to arrest her. She's obviously upset. I don't think she'd get in trouble for that. She gives him the gun when he challenges her.
You don't think she would get in trouble for pulling the gun at a police officer?
I think he would be able to. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be harsh.
But yeah, it's a very, very... there's absolutely no chance in my mind that would stand up. That piece of evidence from Peter Hamilton. So just let's be clear. Hamilton has confirmed with Columbo that he heard the alarm after the shots.
Yep, I think we can actually go further back. So let's trace it right back. Very early in the episode, Hamilton says he has a great memory.
Yeah.
During the episode, he's set up as being a straight-laced man who calls things as he sees them. And then, towards the end of the episode, he turns against Beth slightly because he doesn't like the way she's changing.
Mm-hmm.
So that puts him in a position where he can be manipulated or persuaded to give evidence against her.
Yeah. A decent defence attorney, I would have thought, would have destroyed that particular piece of witness sort of evidence or statement.
Yeah.
We're talking about the difference in milliseconds here, or seconds off between the shot being fired and the alarm.
Imperfect memory.
There's no way that, that...
The fact that the evidence wasn't given at the inquest.
Yes, and the fact that he's heard shots and obviously is worried about, in a state of stress and worry and anxiety over his partner, girlfriend. There's no way that they can be utterly sure and clear the order of the shot and the alarm.
Yeah, I think all she needs to do here is stick to her original story, which she hasn't said anything against, even at the end of this episode. So I think she will be fine, and I think he will be out of a job, Mr. Hamilton.
He will. So yeah, it was. I don't think when this one went to court, went to trial. I think if she's got a half decent, and she's certainly got the money for a half decent lawyer, I can't see her serving any time.
I don't think she'll be convicted at all. I think she'll retain anything she's inherited, her share of the business, everything else.
And you think Columbo might get his knuckles rapped for that then?
Oh yeah, I think the fact that he kept on this case after the inquest came back and said it was accidental, and that he hasn't come up with very much of substance, I suspect they might look at it and say, and they might just say, well, if he does 10 of them and he gets 5 convictions, and that's great. But I think that his superiors might look at this and say he's wasted a bit of time in this one, even if he tries to push it to court. I would imagine you might even find the DA saying we're not even going to prosecute this.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I mean, I enjoyed the episode myself. What do you think?
No, it was good. I really liked it, and I really liked the arc that the main character had, that the killer had. I thought that the way that she developed her character, I think it was a good acting job. I think it was good writing. I liked the story for her, and because she was believable and likeable and relatable, the episode works. I think it's quite similar to Murder by the Book in that sense, that you like the way that the main character is and how they work. Yeah, then it makes the whole episode better.
Yeah, we have a few firsts in this episode.
Okay.
Obviously, the first female murderer.
Yep.
The first time that Columbo has faced danger. He's had a gun pointed at him. So even though you might not think that it was if he hadn't said, don't do this, there's cops everywhere.
She was emotional, I suppose.
She was emotional, so this is the first real danger. And also the first time that, again, you might have this opinion more than myself, a stronger opinion on this. The first time that Columbo had a sympathy with the killer. And
I don't think that was demonstrated.
Well, you think that Bryce... Did you not say to me earlier today before the podcast you thought he had it coming?
I didn't have any sympathy for him, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he deserved to die or anything, but I didn't feel any sympathy at all when he did.
Okay. Some people say, I'm not sure if I agree, some Columbo fans think this is the first time that Columbo, I suppose the way that he ends it, so he has had a gun pointed in his face, yet he still says, you're too classy for this, take as much time as you need.
Sure, but he does something similar at the end of Dead Weight when he insists that they don't handcuff the killer.
But that's more out of respect for his, his career, his position, who he was, as opposed to the actual crime. I think in this case, he doesn't respect, her position. I think he understands the emotional distress.
I'm not sure that I got that from him in the episode in the way that it was played. I don't think I suppose you could say, yeah, he had all these feelings, but yet he's so professional he had to carry out the investigation until he got all the answers. But I don't think he really demonstrated any empathy for her, really, to any huge extent during the episode. Another
piece of trivia here is that Peter Falk went on strike or walked off the set during this episode. Yeah, this is quite interesting.
Okay.
So he apparently had been promised the right to direct an episode in the first season.
Okay.
And this is obviously coming towards the end of the first season.
Yeah.
And he had not yet been given the chance to direct.
Okay.
And this was in his contract.
All right, okay.
And I think he approached Universal, the bosses, and they gave an answer which he wasn't happy with. So basically, down tools.
Interesting.
The rest of the cast were quite, understanding. I think he spoke to them all and said, "Listen, you won't see me around here for a few days." There was a bit of a standoff. I think there was talk about bringing in other actors to film some of the scenes, the sort of long shots, and other chaps wearing Columbo's overcoat to try and move things along. So there was a standoff, and Universal backed down, which it says a lot for what they expected, because remember, at this point, no episodes had been shown of season 1.
Yeah, that could have killed the show.
Could have killed the show. Obviously shows that Peter Falk, stands by his 60s guns.
Yeah, and to an extent, we saw the quality and the calibre of actors that they've used in the earlier episodes. Perhaps they'd made an investment that they weren't prepared to. Yeah,
well, by all accounts, they looked at what had been recorded so far and were impressed enough to realise that this was more than just an average show.
Yeah.
So Peter Falk won out.
There you go, and hopefully we'll see him directing in one of the next 2 episodes.
We can chat about that.
I assume we will, given the story you've just told me.
Some other information. 15th of December 1971 was the original air date. Again, 75 minutes long, like all other episodes so far. Stephen Bochco, back as the writer. We've discussed him a few times. He's been involved.
We've talked about the writing, so I think that adds up with what we said in episode 1 as well.
Directed by Norman Lloyd. His only Columbo episode.
Probably because of that watery bit at the start.
Yeah. Well, he went on to direct, be involved with Alfred Hitchcock Presents and Tales of the Unexpected. But oddly enough, the last 25 years, and I think he's still maybe working, he worked as an actor.
Oh, right, okay.
So he was a producer, a director, and then went into acting.
There you go.
Also probably worthwhile mentioning Richard Anderson, who played Bryce. He was the boss in The $6 Million Man and The Bionic Woman.
All right, okay.
He played Oscar Goldman. And he was in Paths of Glory in 1957, which also starred Timothy Carey, who we've mentioned before because he played Bert.
Yes, in the cafe.
Dead Weight. Yeah.
There you go.
So there we go.
Good connection.
So yeah, overall, Ian, enjoy the episode.
I like that one. I think that was probably my favourite episode since the first one.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I think that's us then for another week.
What are we coming back with next time
round will be Short Fuse.
Short Fuse, okay. I believe it's a popular episode.
Yeah. Just like to say thank you again to everyone who's downloaded, whoever has listened, who's got in touch with us.
Especially the ones who are talking back to us, giving us feedback, sharing the podcast with other people. If you're using Stitcher, iTunes, downloading from the website, any of these services, please leave feedback or ratings or anything if you have the time. We really appreciate it. It does help the podcast out an awful lot.
It does. So thanks again, and we will see you all next time.
Have been listening to the Columbo podcast from Heard Yet Media.